We'll call the meeting to order. We have two members, one's in the hospital and one had to be out of town. You got an agenda up there?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. And the secretary has recorded the attendance. We have meetings from, minutes from previous meetings. The first one is the February 17th, 2015. That was 4 weeks ago.
Cardio ER, please, cardio ER.
Make a motion to approve the minutes, so. I second that motion.
Anybody have discussion, any corrections or additions to the minutes? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Dick, help me out here. We've got these minutes from,
Yes, sir, there's two call meetings, there's two executive sessions, and I believe that at last meeting, there were two sets of executive sessions that were incorrect. It showed that the board took action in the executive session, and we just simply pulled that action out and put it in that third paragraph that says reconvene. I think that's the executive meeting dated January 29th and executive meeting dated February 5th. Then there are two call meetings dated February 26th and March the 10th. So there's two executive sessions that has been before the board but got corrected, and then the February 26th is a call meeting, and the March 10th is a call meeting.
Can we approve those in aggregate, Mr. Chairman?
I think we better do a separate.
All right, I'm looking at it.
So let's start with January the 20th. That was a regular
Wait,
meeting.
well, that's when we just approved.
Excuse me.
17.
January 29th is approved, right?
February 17.
January.
We have two that are just amendments, correct?
Yes, sir. That you've seen before, that's January 29th.
Well, I move that we accept the amended minutes for the two meetings.
29th and February 5th, is that correct?
Correct.
Second.
Okay. Motion and second to approve those two amended meetings. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You can get these in order around your house. Sorry I'm taking so much time, folks, but you just gave these to me, and
To February 26th.
That was a call meeting on the 26th.
yep. Okay, call meeting February 26th.
I move we approve that as written. Those minutes as written. Second.
Second, Ms. Allison. Any discussion or additions to these minutes? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now what are we down to?
March 10th.
Motion to approve.
Here it is.
That was called.
This is the call meeting, March the 10th. Okay. I need a motion and a second.
I made a motion.
This is one you presented.
Right.
I will approve the minutes of March 10th call meeting.
Okay. Want to hear a second? Second by Mayor Ramsey. Any discussion of the issues approaches? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? What do we have, 2 left?
That's
That's it.
it.
And we've got some executive session meetings too.
But we don't publish the minutes of executive session.
I'm sorry?
We don't publish the minutes of executive session.
I know that, so we don't have to approve them either. And you're, okay, good. Okay, it's time for reports. District operations, Mr. Cutler.
No comment.
Can you give us a brief report on the OR and schedule?
Sure. What would you like to,
Well,
what exactly?
We signed the mediation agreement on the 2nd of March. Since then, you should have had it open and staffed for 11 days.
Okay.
So how many days has it been open and staffed?
How many days have it been open and staffed?
11 days.
Oh, she says 11 days. Now, are you talking about the incident that we had to move a case on, was it Friday? Is that correct? Is that what we're talking
I
about?
can't hear you.
Are you speaking of, we had to move a case on Friday to a Monday? Is that the incident that you're talking about
I'm just talking about in general, Mr. Cutler.
in general?
Has the operating room been staffed and open?
There was one day that Marilyn Walker, Dr. Walker's wife, didn't show up to work, so we moved the case to Monday. So it wasn't staffed that day.
That's the only day.
So you're gonna tell me you have credentialed nurses ready in the operating room 24 hours a day right now?
I have staff, I have
Staff.
your wife as a circulator,
So you have one circulator, name your other circulators.
and I have,
Name your other
Marilyn's been doing it for what, how long?
Since November.
So you've got one nurse
Right.
that's cover the operating room 24 hours a day for 3 months? That sound appropriate to anybody here? Does anybody here work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week?
She's not on board.
You have one nurse.
She comes in for scheduled cases.
How
But
about
level
another?
4, so we transfer the trauma.
So what about,
We have
outside?
L&D nurses helping with the
So how about the appendix they called me from a training at 3 o'clock this morning that I couldn't accept because we didn't have an operating room open today?
You have what, sir?
The appendectomy, they called me from a training this morning at 3 o'clock, so I couldn't accept because we didn't have an operating room open
Was
today.
that an emergency?
If you had appendicitis, we'd know.
It was an emergency. Or a level 4, you shipped it.
So, I don't think that's trauma, we're level 4 trauma center.
That's right.
We don't
I said
ship,
an emergency.
we ship all emergencies?
Well, let me help you.
Okay, help me.
We have Roxanne Langston,
Okay, she's not ever worked in this operating room one time.
okay? But she's a circulator nurse,
They're all over the country.
right? And we have agency that won't, never worked here before either, but they'll be here too.
They're not here.
So, is that okay?
They're not here, Mr. Cutler.
So, what I'm saying is, you're trying to make something out of it.
I'm gonna make
You're
something.
trying to keep it
For
open.
6 months, this operating room's been understaffed. I have brought this to you guys day after day after day, and you won't get staffing, but you signed an agreement, a mediation that legally binds you to staff it. Are you going to staff it or not?
We do staff it, thank you.
What, did you cancel my case Friday?
We did, because
Was I able to do that after
because your
you
wife
did
didn't
that?
show up to work.
My wife doesn't work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Dr.
She
Walker,
works
this is
for
not,
anybody in this
I'm
hospital.
not gonna argue this here, thank
You're
you.
not going to argue because you're wrong.
If you would like to argue this, we can come to the office and we can talk about it.
Mr. Scott, let me point out that paragraph 14 of the mediation agreement, from the effective date of this agreement, that was the second, through March the 31st, ETMC shall make the operating room at the hospital available for elective and non-elective surgery, 5 days per week. Period. Is that happening?
Dr. Stovall, let's do this way. Let's have your representatives and our representatives get together and y'all can solve this, okay?
We can solve it easily.
I think that's the easiest way to, because we can't solve it here.
Well, if you'll staff the operating room, it's no problem. These are the sick people of our county, and they want to come to our hospital. All I want to do is take care of them. I'm not asking you to do brain surgery, cardiac surgery. I'm asking you to do simple things like appendectomies, drainage of abscess, straightforward.
And we want to
operation.
take care of those too. But as you know, we've lost a lot of staff because of this whole issue with ETMC versus Houston County transition.
This is not about.
Our employees are trying to find jobs.
That's irrelevant. That's irrelevant.
Let
not what the
me
mediation
point something
agreement
out to you.
I understand. And we do have it open. We can't solve it here. So it's the wrong place to do
that.
that.
Make you understand that you're actually in breach of contract. Ever since the first week in November, you've known that there was going to be X number of days where we were going to have the operating room open. You've had all 4 months now to plan and make sure that you have the staffing available. But now you tell me that you waited until yesterday and all of a sudden you don't have staffing. So all I'm saying is please start planning so that when somebody from Houston County has an appendectomy that is hot and needs to come out, that Dr. Walker can come out at 3 o'clock in the morning and do that, and the patient doesn't have to be sent to town.
Dr. Stovall, I would ask you if you'll come by the office tomorrow, and we'll sit down and we'll figure out scheduling and planning, and so you'll have an understanding, and you will be happy, and I can.
I think I have an understanding, and I'm not an administrator. I don't know how to plan these things.
I understand.
That's your job.
I understand.
And it hasn't been done for this particular, there were 11 days since we signed the agreement. And we have not had 11 days of 24-hour elective or non-elective access to the surgical suite. That hurts people that live in Crockett and the surrounding area.
And that is true. But it's true because we didn't have coverage, and you can't understand that. I mean, we had to move one single case.
No, Mr. Cutler, I've canceled cases virtually every day. That's one case that he's brought up because he's aware of it. You've known for 6 months, 9 months it's been understaffed. It takes 3 RNs to run an operating room. There are dozens of women, that's wrong.
Whoa.
There are dozens of nurses in this county that will be willing to work there and are ready to be hired. And I've given you their names.
Okay.
And if you'd like me to give them to you, I will again. They're very qualified nurses in this place that want a job and they want to take care of our citizens. It's just harassment, not hiring people.
Okay, we've covered that. I just wanted to bring it to your attention, Mr. Cutler.
Thank you.
That we were aware that you have not lived up to the letter of the agreement. Financial report, Ms. Murphy.
This is the financial report for the month ending February 28th. Cash in the checking account, $679,552.03. And money market checking, $572,938. NCD of $1,041,954.26. Of $1,512,301.16. Total checking On CDs, $3,806,792.83. Total other current assets, $75,176.99. Fixed assets, $4,979,835.40. Total other assets, $54,844.24. Total assets, $8,916,649.46. Current liabilities, reserve for uncollected taxes of $69,692.89. Accrued expenses of $3,970. Total liabilities of $73,662.89. Total equity, $8,842,986.57. Total liabilities and equity, $8,916,649.46. Next page is deposit detail for February. From Houston County, that's the VIT tax, that's vehicle tax, $185.50. EMS rent, $900. Payment from their standard monthly payment from EPMC of $7,153.53. CD interest capitalized, $2,656.74. Taxes collected of $54,743.90. Interest on checking, $219.30, and interest on another check of $52.59. Check details for February: DirecTV, $120.05, Windstream, $107.58, Community Hospital, $10,996.88. Todd Hamilton, that is the CPA firm, that's a partial payment. Monthly of $800. Irma Chavez, a housekeeper, $280. Brandon Hurlbert, that is the physician recruitment. John Fitzsimmons, $12,500. That check was dated, it was dated February the 17th. It was for the period ending 2/15. There was some question, that's why I enumerated what happened here. That check did clear the bank in 2/23. There was another check written on 2/17 for the period ending March the 1st, and it was outstanding at 2/28/15. Next page, profit and loss year to date. For the month of February, the total income was $65,912.78. Main portion being taxes received. Total expenses of $39,467.83, $11,796 being legal and professional, and $25,000 being the radiologist. Year to date, total income $375,897, total expenses $245,695.52, for net income $130,202.18. Profit and loss compared to the budget. Total income was $375,000, budgeted $353,000, so over budget $22,518. Expenses are $245,695.52, budgeted $127,108. You're over budget on expenditures of $118,587. The largest two items being the radiologist of $75,000 and legal and professional fees, $42,000 over budget. Net income for the period, $130,000, budgeted $226,000, under budget $96,000. The next is the investment report. Turn to the second page. One CD maturing 4/15/16. Its bearing rate of interest of 1%. Another CD maturing 6/15/15. Interest of 0.7%. Money market money market checking at 0.5%, and the general operating at 0.1%. There are total deposits according to the First Community Bank of $3,835,000, $250,000 in FDIC coverage. They have pledged market securities in the amount of $4,219,636.21. They're over pledged $670,851.66. And those securities pledged, 2 Freddie Macs and 1 Fannie Mae, and the market value is $4,219,636.21.
Any questions or any questions of Mr. Erickson on the financial report?
the board might want to look at, I don't know your cash requirements, you know, you're earning 5 times as much in the money market as you are in the general operating. It's possible that you could move money out of general operating into money market, and you can make up to 3 transfers each month out of your money market without suffering penalties. So it's at the pleasure of the board if you want to do that.
Let me tell the board that I've been putting this off for a while since we've got so many other things on our plate. But there's a gentleman in Houston, I've got all of his paperwork, who has experience working with publicly elected boards like ours, boards that have a legal obligation to protect the investments that they have, protect the monies they have that they want to invest so that it doesn't hurt the county or city or whatever they get from it. And he's getting a much better return than we're getting for his plans. It's an approved situation. We would not be exposing ourselves to any legal problems. And he would like to come sometime and make a short presentation just to explain who he is, what he does, and what he might be able to do for us. I have not invited him without y'all's approval, and I haven't sought y'all's approval because we've had a lot of things thinking about that. But I think maybe we're at a point where I could have him here possibly at our next meeting for a short presentation, if y'all want to do that. If you're not interested, well, we'll just drop it. So I'm open to discussion.
Well, my feeling is with all of the uncertainty that we're facing going forward, at least for the next year or so, I'm sort of would be leaning to liquidity and cash over any kind of weather return, because I think in the next 18 months.
I think he's got both.
Well, it would be cash, so I mean, I'm not opposed to listening to that, but as far as any type of, well, investing, I see each one following.
Well, if you're willing to listen to it, that's hold our decision or opinions until we've heard it. Anyone else?
We had that woman here a couple of years ago.
She never came through. She never came through. She was gonna refer us to somebody else, and that somebody else never contacted her.
And I'm okay with reevaluation investment, but I maybe postpone a few months. We're making so many decisions right now. I'm okay with trying to reevaluate. We've got these investments, but we're spending so much time right now on other issues. I'm not sure we can give it due diligence.
Well, that's what I need to know. I need to know if y'all want to postpone for 3 months, or if y'all want to.
They may want to do it right now.
I got you.
Okay, so I'll get Tiffany to make a note, put that on the agenda in about 3 months, and we'll discuss it again. Is that okay? Good.
Sounds good.
You did vote on the financial.
No, sir, I don't believe it.
This is one of our point of discussion. Dick pointed, we've got 680,000 operating and 570 in the money market, about moving some of those across there. You can see the number. Our monthly outflows less than 200,000 a month, right?
No, sir. I mean,
How much would you suggest we move? I guess that's a better way of asking that.
well, I mean, you could, like I say, you can transfer 3 times a month. I mean, your expenditures just for February would be 30 million.
There you go, there's $100,000 over there. You care. I
have to spend on the phone and move it back over there.
I live more.
What do we move 500,000, leave 180
So, I'll make a motion that so it's mentioned that we move 500,000 from operating money line.
Second.
The money market account has 680,000, give or take some change.
That's operating.
That's the operating, excuse me. That's $680,000 approximately. And what the motion is to move 500,000 of that, which would leave about 180 in the general operating fund, which should be sufficient for us to, and we can always move something back next month. What it is, it's earning 5 times as much interest. All right, any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah, thank you. Now we need to approve the financial report that we just made. I think we had a motion and a second, did we not? Did we have a motion and a second on that?
That's right.
I'm sorry. I'm ready to approve the financial. Okay, Ms. Dawson makes a motion. Need a second. Dr. Ramsey seconds. If there's no more discussion, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Good. Who's gonna get the election update? Is that you too?
Yes, there are 6 candidates running for 5 positions. And Nancy Hubb certified that all of the write-ins were voters in Houston County. Everyone had more than 100 names each. The election will be May 9th. The early voting is 1 week prior to May 9th. It starts like April 29th or something.
Judge Ford, are you here to give a report on EMS, or did you want
Well,
Mr. Christopher to?
I'd be happy to.
Why don't you step up here where we can hear you? Let's have your report. Mr. Christopher's gonna be listening very closely.
Right. The Lifeguard ambulance services is moving forward. We'll have interviews tomorrow with their chief position. The units will be mobilized in the next 2 weeks. They plan to start operation March the 26th, 2 days before the termination of service by ETMC EMS on the 28th. We'll give the lifeguard the opportunity to run the system and understand if there's any problems or issues early on. Apparently they're in the process of interviewing and selecting existing ETMC medics for positions that meet their criteria. Lifeguards have quite a stringent protocol for EMT and paramedic service. You know the arrangement of the ambulance service, so that's 2 new 2015 vans in place, staged here at the hospital. They'll have 2 additional used units for standby and backup. They'll provide 1 additional unit to the Crockett Fire Department for in-house ambulance service, provide peak load availability. And they'll have a rapid response supervisor with a response vehicle available here in Crockett for as part of this package, this 5-year program.
So it's 5 vehicles.
5-year program with two extensions. That's about it at this point. The Vice President of Operations will be here tomorrow, and will be here through Friday to interview for the chief position. But they'll have available. Any questions?
How long is the contract, Johnson?
It's a 5-year with two 5-year contract with two provision for extensions under mutual agreement.
Well, I'd like to commend the committee and the mutual cooperation between all the entities, and they've done a great job. Thank you all.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been quite a supportive effort, and it's been one that all of you, all of us, all of the county have had a common interest in making sure that we have this ambulance service. And I appreciate the support.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Well, let me go on record as commending you, Judge Ford, and our Vice President, Mr. Christopher, because you two will be, I think, the prime movers to get a much better deal than we thought we could get. And we're really proud of what y'all did.
A lot of people deserve credit for this.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people helped that I had no idea.
No,
But when I knew you two were prime movers.
I think I really feel good about Michael. I really think they're very committed to the community, they're proactive. They will provide standby service at no charge at ball games. They're supportive of community events. They're looking into, or will have interest in subscription membership at some point, so that may defray the cost of the subsidy that we're bearing right now. And we'll see how it plays out. Thanks again.
Thank you.
I'd like to just add this, that the judge is in negotiations with them for finalizing the contract, and we approved the use of the EMS facility. And the city is donating the water and the sewer, but nobody realized that there's only one light meter, and apparently it runs through the hospital out there. So I don't know if we need to add that, because the judge they're gonna need that we're, in addition to pledging the use of the building, we agree to pay the electricity. And that part, no one really realized that we didn't have a separate meter out there until they got right down to it.
And the benefit to it is a $20,000 reduction in the subsidy requirement that they had from $265,000. They reduced it to $245,000. So I think it's been a big help. We appreciate the opportunity to use that.
So, what do you see, Mr.?
I think it's on the agenda, so I believe we can, if we had a motion that we add in addition to the use of the building,
And
the board would pick up the electricity for the EMS barn, I suppose.
Okay, so that's your motion.
That was the motion.
Here's a second over here. Everybody understand the motion?
No, please restate the motion.
Okay, the electrical meter is non-existent out there. It comes from the hospital, so there's no way to separate that without putting new metering in. So his motion is that in addition to paying the water and the sewer.
Well, the city was donating that.
No, cities, okay, cities donate the water and sewer, that we donate the electric.
And they reduced their, their bid by $20,000 for that, so, you know, they could have left it in, we would pay it, so it's kind of fine, one way or the other, somebody can pay it.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Is there any opposed? Unanimous, thank you.
Who's gonna, we are gonna contact an electrician to install a meter?
No, just continue to run through as it has always.
Okay, the next item is executive committee report. I don't think we have anything on executive committee tonight. This brings us to public comments. Yes, sir.
I don't have an agenda, so I don't know if this is a proper place to
It
speak.
is.
All right. My name is Roger Zink. I live out on Highway 7 at Porter Springs. When the ambulance service came up along the way, I'm a volunteer fireman, so we involved in people that need the service. I became concerned about the transition, and I think what came out of it was very beneficial. We're better off than we were before. Good things can happen, even though it looks like the end of the world is right there, and it did. I had to tell a patient, the ambulance is 20 minutes away, because on the radio they said we're down at Riverside. And she said, well, why isn't it coming? I said, well, there's a change being made. I don't know about the services that are in place, but you have to get involved with the people that run this thing, and let them know that you want these services. So I started coming to these meetings during that period, and subsequently I've been to 2 or 3, 4 of these meetings. And when I look around this room and see the paper that was written last week summarizing the progress that has been made with the new hospital, I'm absolutely astounded that there are about 4 people in here that aren't even involved with the MTC, the hospital district, or the press. I see that as a major problem that's going to come to you all about October of this year. And I think that we're either going to see a train wreck or a lot of argument about I want my taxes to go up, because the people don't understand what they're paying for, what they're going to get, the services. And you said it the last time at the last meeting, there's no reason we can't have services here like we had 20 years ago. I believe it. If it's properly managed, I'm confident that you've got the management group in place, just listen to their word, that can happen with your direction. But I see a big hole between here and October. And I'm trying to do my part by going out and talking to my neighbors. And I can tell you that when I talk to them, I'm astounded. Yeah, I saw something in the paper I've got to read up on. But my taxes are going to go up if they go off the rails. We can't let that come up in October and not deal with it now. And I know that the gentleman, the CEO of the group that was here last week, said that y'all are dealing with about 100 different items. And I'm sure that that prioritized list that he talked about, somewhere on that list, there should be an element in there that says we've got to communicate with the population now. Do it adequately. So they're prepared in October when they have to make a decision, because they will make a decision. 2 meetings ago at this board, one of the directors said, well, the public is just going to have to decide whether they want a tax or not. And I thought, well, the public is going to have to decide whether they want services or not. If they're going to want services, they're going to have to understand what those services are. And just like that guy talked about, I guess the IT person, said last week, that just to crank up the IT, which is a small part of it, is $2.5, $3 million bucks. $1 million a year to run. Well, you got to start talking about those numbers now, so they understand in the future that, hey, this is something that we can benefit from. And I think they're good examples of the ambulance service. It was marginal, good, bad, gone away, now it's here, better. And I think talk about it. You talk about it to the public, starting right now, by posting the minutes, the agenda, the information on your meeting, and I know it's not a high priority, but if it's on that list between 1 and 100, I would say it's in the top 20. At least in the top 20. And we can talk about it, we might get it up to the top 10. I'm talking about this kind of communication now, not in September. That there has to be on that agenda something that people can read and understand and come to a meeting like this, sit there and listen and say, hey, that's not all bad. I walked away from that meeting last week after that discussion on IT, and I thought, well, that's good. But I also walked away from the meeting frustrated because the discussion was, we've got all these executives from the management group, and I think they made a good presentation about their role. We talked about IT, and the next words were, we're going to go into executive session. I'm walking out the door saying, what the hell is that? You know, spend some time, and I know that it's valuable, and I know that you don't have other things to do. So my bottom line, and the reason I'm up here saying it now, is my bottom line is, we need to get in front of this thing. And I said, we, the citizens in the community, we're going to be paying the bills, and you all, we're going to be making the decisions. And right now, those things are not on a parallel track. People in the community, when I talk to them, aren't very understanding of what you guys do. I said, how does that happen? Well, I got online. I said, in fact, my first response is, it must be here somewhere. So I went back and did research. Both papers, the Grapeland paper is doing an outstanding job, keeping track of what's going on over time. It started with the MTC article, etc. So he wanted to spend the time to do it. But I'll tell you what, I run a ranch, everybody's working out here. They don't have time to do that. But if you put it out there once a week, once a month, or a scheduled meeting with the kind of presentation that we have here, taking those big chunks, here's what it is, here's why it's going to be better, here's what it's going to cost, you're going to be better off in October than you are now. So I've said I'm going to start coming to these meetings, and I'm going to start asking some questions. And I'm not going to be asking the questions to be confrontational. I think the public really supports the end result of what you guys want to do, because I really believe it. I don't think anybody's making $1 million running this board, or even 500, or you know, a cup of coffee. So your time is valuable and well spent, and I think everybody on the board is going to attend it. As long as the people understand that, I think we can have a good end result in October. That's all I have to say, but I thought I could say it now early before we get down the road. And I'll tell you what, hay season started, we're moving cattle, we're doing a lot of stuff. We're not going to have time to do it.
I couldn't agree with you more. I'm in total agreement with you. I think, though, if you watch that there are statutory timelines
In the transition. I understand that. We've got 1 year between August 20.
Exactly. But as that time goes, that there will be public forums, there will be discussions, there will be budget discussions. All of that will have an opportunity to get in the public domain. Right now, it's just discussion because those numbers haven't been crunched yet.
I understand that, and I know that you as a management group are dealing with kind of what's inside baseball. We know that, what's happening down the line. But you also have a consultant working for you to do the administrative stuff and do the work. To me, it would be something that should be delegated to that group to say, make damn sure you're touching these bags. You don't have to do it, and you can schedule it, but it should be an ongoing thing. And I don't think that telling the public, we have this grand plan in our mind, and someplace in the future this is going to fit, is going to fly. So I agree with you, but I think there is an urgency. And that's really, I guess if that's what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to express that urgency.
I totally agree with you.
I I'm not over the top, I'm not a conspiracy guy, I don't react. But I can see that down the road.
Well, hopefully, the first vivid example that the public will see will be the new ambulances which show up, I believe, on the 26th. And hopefully the press and.
I think that that's a good thing, but I also think that whoever's running that group, that management group, ought to have a dedicated person that is responsible for that. So one of the attendance items that you see every month is, Mr. PR person, your job is to communicate with the public, how are you doing? I don't even see him here tonight, I was surprised.
Barbara's here, and
Who is
she'll be addressing this in just a moment.
Okay. I'm pretty sure I apologize. I wanted to say that because I think it's important to get it out now.
And I will say, Mr. Roloff unfortunately had an accident, he was having surgery Thursday. So otherwise, he would.
Well, that would be another advantage, and I'm not taking that, Joe, of having an agenda when I walk in the door. Is that too much to ask?
No.
Well, where is it? I mean, that, you know.
Well, the agenda's publicly posted
Where is it publicly posted?
at the courthouse.
And in the cafeteria.
At the city office.
Do you really think that that is the way to do it? The way I have been knowing that the public is going to be involved, that it is public, because you do have a lot of executive board meetings. I'm not against it. Is it in the paper? I usually get that paper a day before the meeting. It's not sufficient. I don't know how we, and I'm not legal, but, you know, there are public notice requirements, and I can tell you that whatever you're doing now is not accurate from what I have talked about, and I've talked to people in my neighborhood and around the county about, you know, what's going on. It's not working.
So,
I don't take that as
may I
criticism.
respond?
Sure.
I appreciate your comments and your concerns, and I think there are the concerns of a lot of people. But please recall that we did not have a signed mediation agreement. No, we waited a long time.
So we'll have what?
We did not have the signed mediation agreement with ETNC until March 2nd. And so we have had the interim, and this is the 17th, to do some of the things that you're concerned about. We have talked long and hard about some of the same things that you're concerned about via transparency,
Right?
via getting the word out,
How do you do
to
that?
give people more information. We certainly, or I would, as a board member, love to have people come. The meetings are published in the newspaper. So while I understand your concerns, and they are viable, I guess what I'm saying is, we're working hard on the very things that you have brought forward.
Then I would ask, and I agree with that, but the problem is it's not visible. So my suggestion would be make it visible again and again and again, and people will fill up. I guarantee you that with the kinds of things that are going on with this hospital, I don't know if you read the article from Mount Vernon, Texas, in the Washington Post on Sunday. If you did it, you should, and you should give it to every one of your constituents, every one. Because they are not knowledgeable about what's going on. They think, and I think, I'm coming out of school now, but when I talk to the public about this, they think the EMTC, the board, mediation, whatever kind of legal argument you're in, is really what the problem is. And the problem isn't really that. I think you mentioned it the other day. We can lose an EMTC no matter what happens. And that's basically what they are. The public doesn't know that. I'm going to shut up. My 3 minutes are up. If I have an agenda that says you can only talk for 3 minutes, I'm going to shut up.
Was that article in the Washington Post?
It's Sunday Washington Post. I don't remember the author's name, MBU or something.
I saw it, but I wasn't
Go
sure.
online and look at it. I don't have an iPad now, but you can look at it. And that should be step one for the management group to say, hey, this is where you are. You're not by yourself. Now, what are you going to do about it? And I think that you have done a good job putting these blocks in place. I thought that the CEO said, hey, we do this. We're doing it all over the place. We got your back. I believe it. So, but the public's got to know. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Watson, I think this might be an appropriate time for you.
Okay, there you go. I do have press releases, which is one of the things that we did discuss last week at the meeting, that after every meeting, there would be a press release to go along with that, and I do have copies of that for the press.
That was in the paper.
Pardon me?
Part of it was in the paper.
Yes, yes. And so we do have that, and because we know from our experience, just like you're saying, that community involvement and community communication is key.
Do you have a plan to implement that?
Yes, it is on our plan. A couple of things, just like we talked about last week, that the priorities are getting in front of the board, the things that we need some decisions on immediately, because the clock is ticking. We're at day 76 now, prior to opening. We did have a very productive meeting yesterday in Tyler with the representative who will be our counterpart from ETMC, to be able to begin gathering some data that we've not had access to. So just like Brian's presentation last week, those are kind of predictive numbers. We got the same thing that are going to be predictive numbers for the employees, because we know that's a high priority as well. And that's really, we asked for those things this week from our ETMC counterpart, because we need to put that in front of the board so that we can get some direction and some approval to move forward on those items, so that we can employ people come June 1st, and we have a benefit package to offer them, et cetera. And we have an application to give them, that kind of stuff. So there's a couple of those that, and we already have obviously a list of all the licenses we need to acquire, and we're in a time crunch to make that happen. So we prioritize by time. Community, absolutely. And one of the things I think our Stowe is going to kind of talk about is like the hospital name. Everywhere I hear, people want to have input on the hospital name. I think that's a phenomenal idea. But we're at the point where we got to have something to put on the application today, or tomorrow, or next week, now. So how are we going to manage that, and how's the board going to help give us direction on that? Because they're not our decisions to make. Like you just very nicely said, we're here to make happen what the board wants us to do. And we're, with our experience, we'll offer recommendations and guidance, because we've done this before, but it's still ultimately the board's decision and direction that we're going to take. I'm responsible to the board. Mr. Rohoff and I are directly responsible to the board as the most senior executives on site. So.
I understand the difference between fighting alligators and draining the swamp.
Right.
And I know that right now you are in the alligators.
Right.
And it's not something that's going to happen this week or next week.
Right.
But I would like and expect actually from the board, through you, for the public to see the grand plan.
Right.
Okay, this is how big it is.
Exactly.
This is the piece we're working on now.
Yeah.
How you communicate that, you've got PR people that
Right.
pay to do that.
Right.
That's my fear.
Right.
We do. To do it.
We do have people that do that much better than I do. I'm good at going to the Hilltop
Usually.
Cafe and having a discussion.
But don't take my comments as
Oh,
being.
no. I took notes. I'm going to share it with Bill and the rest of my team.
Thank you very much.
So, no, I appreciate it. So, thank you. Anything else from me right now?
Yes, please. You want hand?
Oh, we didn't obviously communicate. I've got the press releases, which I'll pass out. Do you want to move forward on the name?
What would you like, how'd you like hand?
I think that we just need some direction from the board about what we can use as a legal name, so we can start putting on license applications, et cetera. Medicare, all those kinds of things. We need a suggestion of a legal name. And we don't need it tonight necessarily, like you and I discussed earlier, but we'll need that soon, so we can move forward on some of those. Again, we're at day 76. Back here in my little office, I keep a running thing of how many days to launch, and we're at day 76 right now. So, so we've got some decisions to make. Yes, sir.
I'm not sure. I thought you was a financial person.
Oh, I
And I said, I was
wish.
going to make a comment a while ago, and I thought you was a financial. I said, well, maybe you would answer my question. And I would have asked them. So I need them to approve me to speak.
Oh, okay. No, I'm not the financial person. I'm the chief nursing officer.
I didn't know that. I thought you was a financial person.
It's always her. Yes,
I have a question. I'm Mike Brown. When I award money to my business, I had to come up with a financial plan. And with this operation y'all got to be going, will it cash flow? That's what they asked me, is you're paying cash flow. And if it doesn't cash flow, then I don't get no money. And that's what I wanted to know from the board, is the hospital, is it gonna be able to fund itself? I mean, for 20 years, our taxes have been pretty low, okay? I mean, I wanted to leave me lower. I come one time and I was kind of bashed, so I didn't go back till tonight, it's been a couple of years ago, but anyway. And my point is, if this thing can't cash flow, then it needs to be took a different direction. Because we need a hospital, I mean, we need an ambulance service, and we need an emergency service. But I don't think people should be taxed in order to keep this hospital standing. But we do need an ambulance service, and we do need a emergency room. And I don't want to be taxed. And the 3 cents, I think it's 3 cents, how much I remember. That's enough, And what I want to know is this thing on cash flow.
Are you saying without taxes?
Without taxes, yes.
I don't think so. And go back to your emergency center, we all agree with that. But if you look at, Mike, if you look at the operations of running a medical center, the emergency room is a dead loss. It's the biggest loss loser in a hospital. Okay? And so, but you have to incorporate that into all the rest. There are other operations that can make money. So we have to look at the whole operation and try to figure out what it is the community will support.
I mean, this is my opinion. It doesn't, just like any other business, if you have a financial plan and it doesn't cash flow, then it has to be scrapped. They won't loan you the money. I don't think this should be any different.
I wouldn't disagree with you, but I will say
Yes,
that
it's right here.
if
Y'all can look over this. Center, Texas is about the same size as Crockett. Except I don't know how they're thriving. They got 4 or 5 brand new motels, got 4 automobile dealerships. We don't have any in Crockett anymore. Anyway, this is what they call this. Y'all have to pass that around and look. Anyway, my point is I want to know if it was going to cash flow, and I guess the answer is no. Y'all gonna be
we're gonna be
totally dependent on the taxpayers.
not totally dependent.
Well,
But it will, if you look at the future of medicine, if you look at the article he's referring to, any rural hospital that's gonna survive is going to have to be tax assisted or tax subsidized. It's not gonna make money. If it's making money, ETS wouldn't be going out.
that's what I think pretty
I
tough.
want to clarify that, but I don't think that's rural. I think that any community hospital, whether it be Parkland or Benton or Johnson or Bear County, every single hospital in every county that exists in Texas has to have some form of tax assistance. And that's true. You can't have a public hospital and have it open to the public and it not have some kind of assistance. Our taxes have been the lowest in the state of any open hospital for many, many, many years. I can tell you your taxes may get raised. We haven't made that decision because we haven't seen the financial statements that are going to be provided to us. But I will tell you, we will do our best to keep it the lowest we can, as we have for the last 15, 20 years. Well, since I guess around 90, so it's been 20 years. So we'll keep them as low as we can, but we'll hopefully keep them lower than everywhere else. But they're a fraction of what people pay in every other county that has a hospital. That's just the nature of having a community hospital. If you want it open for everybody, you've got to have the money somewhere.
But I think Mike is saying he doesn't want a hospital. I personally don't want to live here without a hospital. I think the town will die without a hospital. And if I have to be taxed, I have to be taxed. Crockett, your property values will considerate. To me, the future of our town is, it's imperative to have a hospital and have a decent hospital. I don't think a freestanding emergency room will do it. I disagree. That might be enough for you. I'm getting older. I don't want to break a hip and not have any place to go. So I disagree with you.
And I'd like to point out this is an economic thing as well. We're talking about the tax monies we're going to raise are going to be in the hundreds of thousands, whereas medicine in Houston County is maybe a $250 million $1 business. We either keep it here or we send the money out of town. And the more it gets out of town, the more our values go down. The more we keep here, the more jobs we keep here. And those people pay other taxes, city, county, or sales taxes. So
And they buy houses.
we get to choose, do we want to keep the business in Crockett, or we want to continue to ship out everything from card sales to clothes sales out of this county? And the more people are employed here, the more money they spend here. So it is an economic decision. Millions of dollars, not a few cents a day.
Let me put a little on that.
Sure, Mike.
When, I've been here all my life, and I remember when your family moved to Crockett. And, there was about 7,000 people here then, that was back in the 60s. And there's about 7,000 here now. They're just different people. And we don't have any business here. I mean, it is zeroed out. If we hadn't got some oil and gas, money back in '06, Crockett would look like Groveton, you know, because that was the only thing, that's the only thing that picked us on our feet and got us going again. And there's no business here, and it's not, I don't see any coming just because of the word tax.
Well, I see it coming, because I see it's gonna be physical therapy department here. Operating rooms that are open fully, recruitment of physicians. Those are big business. Those are $1 million businesses.
How did ETMC not be able to handle it?
They did it for a while, and then they pulled it out because they'd rather go to Tyler. I want to keep it in Crockett, not Tyler. That's a big difference.
And one other thing, let me go on this. I mean, I don't want to step on anybody's toes on this, but I really think that I live in Port Springs, and Port Springs has not been, probably went dead on me, hold on. So what's that I'm saying, taxation, we don't have anybody on the board in our area down there. We need somebody, all these little communities ought to have somebody sitting on the board.
You can run.
Yeah, I can run it. I'm just saying, for 20 years, I didn't have to bother this, but we had ETMC here, and taxes were 3 cents, but I just think we're not getting any, we don't have much of a say-so.
Michael, I'd like to point out the 9 members of the board, 4 of them live out in the country.
I just said about the Port Springs area, I don't see anybody from the Port Springs area.
Well, run.
Get somebody to run.
That's what I'm saying, I think,
We're trying to get people. We want people to rule there.
Only takes 100 signatures.
Let me correct, I think I want to correct something. ETMC was making a go here. This was a financially profitable endeavor for them the first 10 years or so. They didn't leave here because they didn't start shifting things to Tyler because they weren't profitable here. They shifted them because they needed them in Tyler to make that hospital profitable. Okay? Things were going very well here until about '05, '04, somewhere in there. And I'm guessing at that date, at which time ETMC made the decision to start moving the profit from Crockett to Tyler.
And in fact, let me add on to that. During that time, this was the #2 cash producer, including the mothership, out of their whole system.
is there,
Yes, so the cash flow was very, very strong, okay? But it was essentially, everything was shipped north, and when they started shipping everything, we started losing physicians. If we lose this hospital, we have 4 nursing homes, which really can't be viable without local hospital support. Those will have to leave. I mean, we are talking about, if I cannot do the calculation, but as Dr. Walker was talking about, you're talking about $200 million worth of healthcare, considering all the stuff that goes in this community. Most of that's going to leave. That will be in people who are employed and pay taxes, which means your taxes, it may not be this tax, but it'll be that tax, will be low overall. There's no way to prove that, but the fact is that if you have people who pay taxes, your county roads are paid. If you have people who pay taxes, your services, your ambulance services are paid. And if you want to live in an area where you throw people in the back of your pickup and take them to the next county, that's fine, but I think a lot of people aren't willing to do that. I'm not one of them. You'll lose all the physicians here. medical care in the county, which some people, that's fine, but that is a choice that that's a venue I do not want to see happen. I want to live in a place where there's medical care, so that as I get older, if I have trouble, I can have something to take, I can be taken care of.
I'd like to make a proposal, John. I think we ought to, in the next few months, I think it's obvious, ought to have maybe one meeting a month just for a town hall type thing, the public comes to talk to us. Because I think people want to speak more, maybe more people would come and give us their advice and recommendations. I mean, we want to represent our community, and we don't really have enough time in our board meetings because of the other things we have to do to listen to everybody. Maybe once a month, just have a meeting, just call just for public comment. Show up here to catch arrows.
Well, I'm sure take that into consideration and try to find a good date for that, probably halfway between each board meeting.
Well, what I would like to see happen is I'm reminiscent of the days that we came together as a county and formed this district. We marched in the street from here to the square. We held up signs and we raised our taxes, and it was absolutely one of the most inspiring things I've been involved in. And I'm hoping we'll do that again, because I think it's that crucial, and I think we need everybody to be on board, because we're at a turning point, as we were then. We were about to lose our hospital. And it's time that we raise our flags and march in the streets to the square, because it's that important. It really is. And I expect nothing less of Houston County. I think we can do it again. I think we need to do it again. I appreciate your comment. Because everybody's got to be on board. This is a big deal.
I guarantee you get more people in the street, if you do what Dr. Walker's talking about.
Exactly. I think it's a great
I
idea.
suggest that you endorse
I
this
agree. Great idea.
suggestion.
Okay, I'm gonna back up one place on the agenda, the executive committee. I'm doing this for convenience because CHC is urging us to get a name for the hospital. It may not be the permanent name, but it is a name under which we can operate for the next 4 months. Two members of the executive committee did meet before the meeting, and we looked at things, and we sort of came to an agreement, but it just occurred to me that since the executive committee report is on the agenda, that if the board would like to, we can pick a name tonight and give it to the CHC people, so tomorrow y'all can immediately get started on these items with which you need this to operate.
I'd like to make clear that we can DBA and any name, we can be Dandelion Central. We just need to have one name that we can put on these applications. Does that make sense?
See, right now, we're ETMC project, and that obviously is going to go away very shortly. So our interim name, y'all have one of these? Do y'all have a serious, the three of us here have a preference. Do y'all have a preference? Have y'all looked at it? What's your favorite?
Well, wait a minute, I want to know what the preferences are. Oh, you checked yours. You're going to check too.
Well, I checked too. I think either one of them, but that's the main one.
I haven't looked yet.
Well,
We did gather these names from employee suggestions, from the suggestions we've heard, and we kind of centralized those suggestions.
How many suggestions do you have from the public?
None, and we know that that needs to happen.
Well-
We absolutely know that needs to happen, and the board, what I've heard from the board, they want that to happen as well. Again, it's something that hasn't been previously decided. It doesn't have to be tonight, but it needs to be soon to be able
I
to.
don't know whether we're in executive session or discussion or where we are. But since I brought it up at the meeting that you had, and you all brought down and talked about your resignation last week, I thought it was solid. One of the comments that was made by the CEO, the Crockett Hospital. And I thought, who's paying for this hospital? It's that folks, those folks right up there. It's called the Houston County Hospital District. And to me, when I walked out the door, I thought, hey, if you're not considering Houston County, I'm thinking of LA County or major counties that have major hospitals.
Sir, why don't you give us a chance? I think we'll satisfy you.
Okay, no, but my point is, listen to the public, and I don't want to interrupt, but I want to.
Just so you know, Bill and I did discuss that later, and I don't think you'll hear that anymore, because we did have a conversation about that later. Because he realized after the fact.
Well,
how
but
that
it came
sounded.
across like, hey, this is not the Crockett Hospital. The
Right.
Crockett Hospital is gone.
Right,
EMTC is gone.
right,
This is,
right.
I'll shut up.
I like
Crockett's not on here at all.
Houston County Medical Center. To me, I think that's more encompassing than just the hospital, and that's obviously what I think our
How do
intention
you feel about that?
Every day,
You're overwhelming public.
every name on here has Houston County in it. So that's the first part. So I think that was clear that we didn't want it to be Crockett or Texas General.
I'll read off the options we've got. That'll maybe allay some of your opinions. Houston County Health, Houston County Community Hospital, Houston County Hospital and Clinic, Houston County Medical Center, Houston County Hospital, Medical Center of Houston County, Community Hospital of Houston County. Everything's got Houston County. I'm with Larry, I like Houston County Medical Center.
Me too.
We do have a medical office building with physicians and other services, lab, PT, things like that. But
Could we be like East Texas Medicine, Crockett, and that would still use the ETMC logo?
But my feeling about it is, I agree with you. This is Houston County. I actually like that, but I like the fact that two of these choices do not start off with Houston County. This is Houston County. Now, whether it's medical center or hospital, that's fine. Medical center, because we are going to incorporate some other stuff, I think makes more encompassing statement, which I think is that's the one I go with.
Well, I make a motion that we, that with Houston County Medical Center, that would be at least our interim name until such time that we, choose to adopt something different.
I say,
Larry, are you going to suggest a color too, or just a name?
I just want just a name.
Appreciate that.
If you look,
We need the consultant's advice on color.
mission statement.
I'm sorry.
The
Oh,
statement.
you're just
I'm
now.
a strategic plan, mission statement kind of driven person.
Okay.
Okay, we've got a motion. Do we have a second for that?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for Houston County Medical Center. Any discussion? We done? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Thank you, I will let the attorneys know.
so that satisfies Ms. Watson.
Yes,
Thank
thank you.
I had a statement that I wish the mayor would want to make a statement, and Mr. Cutler, he's back. Could I make a statement?
you.
Mr. Cutler, I was waiting on you to return because I wanted to state something to you. I'd like to preface my comments with the fact that this is totally my personal opinion. That's what it is. And it is in regard to the fact that I believe that it is unconscionable and inappropriate to call out the name of one of your employees and to say that she didn't show up for work. I realize that Mr. Cutler has a lot of employees, and it is really no comparison. I'm not familiar with the ins and outs of protocol regarding personnel with ETMC. My only experience that I can relate to that is that for many years I ran a very large hospital, I had 200 employees, and under no circumstances in a public meeting would I have called out the name of one of those employees. That is a personnel matter. I think if it needs to be discussed, it should be an in-house discussion in a closed meeting. As I said, that's my opinion. If it's wrong, I stand corrected. Thank you.
And I'd like to make a point too, that Marilyn has worked in this hospital for almost 30 years. She's worked a rear off, she worked 7 days a week, sometimes she worked 24-hour shifts, sometimes more. And I think to blame any fault on her for the failure of the administration to adequately staff the hospital is inappropriate as well. I mean, she's a good, hard-working nurse, despite the fact that we let her.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Krausen, you're exactly right, and I apologize. You know, we shouldn't have gotten in an argument about that. If this board felt that there was a breach, they should speak with the corporation of ETMC. So, my apologies, you're exactly correct.
Thank you.
Is there any more business to come before the board? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion, second. All in favor? I'm sorry. Okay, we're adjourned.